You know, as I drove down here and as I woke this morning in Seattle, I don't know about over here, but in Seattle, I watched the sun as it lay on the horizon and it was peeking up trying to decide what to put on. And at first it seemed not to move, but then slowly stood, and her decision was obvious. For just a moment, she put on her most brilliant attire. Against her glowing copper skin, she wore her orange silk dress with her gold sequin jacket. And she stretched her long yellow gloves towards the skies and circled her sparkling smile with a bright red wide-brimmed hat. And then the clouds came riding in all puffed and proud on the wind's chariot, and the raindrops put on their slickers, and they're out there waiting to tap dance now on top of everything. And as I looked at Mount Rainier, I imagined the snowflakes were wearing their white tutus, practicing their pirouettes because it's celebration time. It's Martin Luther King's birthday.
What's up, what's up? This is Dominic Hoyt from What's Up College Edition. I'm here with Dr. Mona Lake Jones, who gave a wonderful presentation of the celebration, remembering, and act of Martin Luther King. How are you doing, Mrs.
Fine,
Jones?
thanks. I'm really glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. You do poetry, and tell us a little bit about yourself and why it is necessary to remember, celebrate, and act or have actions on the day of Martin Luther King.
Well, let me just tell you a little bit about myself first, and then I'll answer the second part. I am a poet laureate for King County now. I served as a poet laureate for Seattle for about 5 years. I do a lot of writing. I have 2 books in the stores, A Color of Culture and A Color of Culture 2, and the new CD, Poetry Dancing on Music. I'm about the country most of the time, talking to colleges and universities and conventions and so forth, really kind of enjoying life. But there's a purpose in what I do, and I'm always joyful to be able to talk about Martin Luther King because he is one of the leaders, the historical leaders that I kind of honor, and not kind of honor, I truly honor because of all of that which he did for just even me personally as an African-American person living in this country. He had a dream, and I try to, as much as I can, kind of adhere to that dream about being good to yourself and to others, to respecting and embracing other people and their cultures and their differences. So I think that this is a time for Martin Luther King's birthday to have a little reflection on what he stood for, and then to make a plan about acting on that dream that he had for us.
Tell me a little bit more about your poetry. How long have you been writing?
I've been writing for probably about 10 years. I started off doing some writing for Essence magazine, and each time there would be a piece in the magazine, the editor would call and say, Mona, people ask which book is the poem from, and there was no book. And she suggested to me that I make a compilation of some of the things that I did, and that's when I really got serious about writing and began to think about publishing and that kind of thing. Before that, I just did a little poetry writing. I think all of us are poets. I mean, you're a poet, too. I mean, you've got something to say and know how to say it. I enjoy the fact that people will listen to anything that some of the things that at least that I've written. I like that, and I have an audience now, and so I feel compelled to say some positive things, just like what we did here today about Martin Luther King.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Jones, Mona Lake Jones, and thank you for coming on What's Up College Edition.
And thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
We're smart, and you are smart. We are smart, and so we know what the dream is. Unlike some people who barely seem to be alive, they don't know where they're going or when they will arrive, and they wander around looking, watching others be, blinded by distraction and unable to see. They don't comprehend what life could really mean. They simply are the dreamers dreaming a dream. That is not us, for we know what the dream is, and we have both the intelligence and the stamina to reach the dream. You know, there's an old saying that says, that talks about there being so much work to be done, and then this person says, you know, I would like to just do nothing and then rest afterward. That's not us. Not if we are attempting to reach the dream. Thank God Martin Luther King's ancestors, not then known by their slave names, crouched low in the ship, bent their backs, and grimaced well enough to bear the pain. I am grateful, too, that they did not excuse themselves from the misery of enslavement, but chose to endure an imprisoned existence. Were they simply strong in body, or were their minds so sharp they outwitted those in charge? We may never know, but thank God they survived, for if they had not, Martin would not have passed our way and shared his dream with us. Those folks were remarkable people, those who blazed the first trails to build the dream. With all they had to endure, all of the thought to be impossible roadblocks, they arrived, and they kept arriving. By the hundreds, by the thousands, by the millions, they arrived. Cut from the heart of Africa, crowded into the bellies of ships and stacked for the voyages across the seas. Enslaved on the plantations, shackled and whipped to build a future for their masters, but they arrived, and they kept arriving. Escaping through the underground, then ordered by the Emancipation Proclamation to be elevated to non-citizenship. Freed, but unable to participate in the political process, no vote, and without the promised 40 acres and a mule. They arrived,